The game right now is about also the future of the market, because you don't want to hear rumors, oh, Nikon is dying again 1.5 years from now. So there is not a single Nikon in the top 10 list of cameras sold in 2021 in Japan. Not a single Nikon. No Nikon DSLR, no Nikon mirrorless. What does that mean for Nikon? Does it still mean that Nikon is not doing all right? Even a couple of months back, we're still hearing rumors of how Nikon is going to die. In fact, for a long time last year, I kept telling people that on this channel that Nikon is not in danger, Nikon is going to survive. But there is not a single Nikon in the top 10 list in 2021. However, in 2020, the year before this, the Nikon D5600 was the number one camera sold in Japan for the entire year. So what does it mean? What are the cameras that are being sold in Japan? And what does it mean for Nikon? See, if you look at the list, I'll share the list here. If you look at the list of cameras being sold, who occupy the first 10 positions of the most sold cameras in Japan for the year, it's mostly all APS-C. It's mostly all APS-C, and it's all Sony and Canon. And one more important thing to notice there is that they all sell in bundles. It was true for last year, it is true for this year. What does it mean? It's people who are buying the camera with a couple of lenses as kit, and they're buying basic kit lenses. So these are customers who are buying a camera for the first time. They're young people and they're buying a camera for the first time. And last year we thought that Nikon is going to launch the Z30. Nikon did not do so. We saw pictures, mock-ups and all that. We were getting ready for the Z30, and instead we got the ZFC. Now the ZFC seemed to attract a similar kind of audience, someone who's buying the millennials, younger millennials, or the Generation Z, who's buying a camera for the first time, a very good looking, nice, fashionable looking camera. But it's priced out of these people's pockets. For example, these cameras that are selling in high numbers, for example, the Canon EOS M50, M50 Mark II, the A6400, the ZV-E10, these are typically within $600 to $800. The ZFC is more expensive than that, especially if you want to have a couple of lenses with it, because most of these cameras in the top 10 list are being sold with two kit lenses, one the standard zoom and one long zoom. So ZFC did not fit the price bracket that we sort of expected it to fit. So it is clearly not the Z30. Now this year there is not much conversation on the Z30. What has happened in the last 1 month is that if the Z9 has come out and it has done exceptionally well in the market. It's probably selling more than the Canon R3 and more than the Sony A1. I'm not sure, but looking at the excitement and looking at the sales numbers, I think it is selling more than those two cameras. So Nikon is going to be busy selling the Z9 and making the Z9 for a long time to come. I don't know, do they have the capacity to make more cameras and sell more cameras? I know in my local market, I have the Z6 and the Z6 IIs, the Z7s, they're not available. In fact, the lenses are not available. When you have chip shortage, you have to prioritize and make and sell the products that's going to give you the highest amount of value for the per unit sold, because you can only sell so many units of products because you only have so many units of chips to work with. So but this is working in Nikon's favor, that Nikon is not selling the high volume products, but they're selling very expensive premium products like the Z9 or the 100 to 400. It looks to me that the entry level consumers still form the bulk of the market, and they're important because there you're targeting the younger consumer, and within a year or two, if they stick around with the camera, they're going to want to buy an upgrade to a better camera, a better lens. So that's where you lose the potential market. I don't know, is Nikon unnecessarily niching itself too much? I'm not sure. It looks like that, and I don't think that's a great strategy. I think in order for Nikon to maintain an advantage in tech, and in order for Nikon to offer the range of products that Nikon buyers would like to see coming from Nikon needs the money for to develop new tech, right? To compete with Canon and Sony when it comes to technology. Not all of that money is going to come from the premium products only. In fact, usually that money comes from the belly of the market, the middle ground really, the center of the bell curve where you have most of the market, the bulk of the market. And in the APS-C, on the APS-C side, you have the, I would say, 700 to 900 US dollars. That's a sweet spot where you need to have a great product. And on the other hand, the 2000 to 2500 US dollars, that's another important sort of price bracket within which you need to have compelling products. Right now, the Z6 II was fantastic about 2 years back when it was launched. Not 2 years, 1.5 years. But at the time when it was launched, it was really, really competitive. And in my view, it was clearly ahead of the A7 III. But right now, after the Canon R6 and the Sony A7 IV, I see and I know people who really wanted to buy a Nikon, but then they're thinking, well, I'm probably not buying the latest Nikon because there's so much difference, so much gap between the Z6 II, the Z6 and the Z9. They look like products from completely different brands, completely different companies. So therefore, Nikon is losing that market too, at least right now, to Sony's A7 IV, because that's an updated camera. And also Canon's R6, although it doesn't have the megapixels, but it's pretty competitive, especially when it comes to video features and autofocus and IBIS and other things. So I think right now what's happening is that we are starting to see a huge gap in terms of capability of the Z9 and the rest of the lineup. And what's required right now is Nikon needs to push a firmware update for the Z6 II and the Z7 II. It's very important, because then otherwise you're losing that market to a fairly well-rounded camera like an A7 IV right now. For those people, it is important that you have a nice solid mid-range camera like the A7 IV. On the other hand, the A6400 is a fantastic camera in my view, because it's so complete, and a lot of serious filmmakers, a lot of serious photographers use that camera. The XS10 from Fuji is equally a compelling proposition, but I think it's a little more expensive than the A6400. The Z50 is a great idea. The Z50 Mark II is a great idea, and I think we need to see that coming this year. I'm actually not so sure about the Z30. I'm not sure if people are actually looking for a very compromised camera that doesn't have an EVF, that basically loses a lot of capabilities to hit that price bracket of 600 to 800. Nikon needs to recruit the next generation of consumers, because otherwise what Nikon is losing is the future market. Right now, what Nikon is getting back with the Z9 are the people who have been photographers for a long time, right? So they've had older Nikon cameras, they probably have older Nikon gear, or they left Nikon and went to Canon or Sony or Fuji even, and they say, okay, now it's time for me to come back to Nikon. So they're basically sort of consolidating their existing market, but the future market is still going to Canon and Sony, and that is a serious leakage from Nikon side, and that's something that leakage has to be plugged. It has to be stopped somehow, and it needs products. So should Nikon worry about the fact that there are no Nikon in the top 10 cameras sold in Japan the last year? Looking at the success of the Z9, it might look like Nikon should not worry, and they should not, because the current market is working in favor of them. But Nikon should worry, because the game right now is about also the future of the market, because you don't want to hear rumors, oh, Nikon is dying again 1.5 years from now. And I don't think Nikon should make a mistake like that. And we need an update to the Z5 sometime this year, maybe by the end of the year. We definitely need an update to the Z50 as quickly as possible, and a lot more video capability. If possible, 10-bit 420, that's fine. But 10-bit 420 video capability, the latest autofocus system, the autofocus layout and the system from the Z9. Of course, they could use the latest processor with maybe less number of cores like you have seen in the MacBook. So that's understandable. It's designed for the performance that product is supposed to give you. But I think that can be done right now. I don't see why Nikon has to wait. They just need to put an IBIS mechanism inside the oh, not probably the IBIS for this camera, but they need to push in the latest firmware and the latest hardware and put that in the Nikon Z50. Price is the same. Do not increase the price. If possible, give 10-bit 422 or 420. If possible, don't shy away from giving full HD 240p. It's important because you're getting that from on a camera like the XE4. It is a very accessible, very affordable camera, and you still get 240p in full HD from this camera. So I think it's time for Nikon to really address the future market, and that's why I think it's a bit concerning, at least for me personally. I think Nikon missed an opportunity. Clearly the ZFC, although it sold a lot, I don't think it has taken the opportunity that's there in the market. I don't think ZFC has done the job. I think it was not supposed to do this job, but if Nikon was supposed to launch, if they had made up their mind to launch a ZFC, they could have made the camera cheaper, even $150 cheaper ZFC, I think, and Nikon would have featured in that list. I think I've spoken enough. I think you get the point. Nikon should bring focus back quickly to this entry-level market, because there's still young people picking up the camera for the first time in their lives. So there's no reason to ignore the whole lot of them completely. It makes no sense at all to me. But yeah, that's the video, guys. If you like the video, do like the video and don't shy away from subscribing. It really helps me, and see you again with another video.